So most dentists I meet didn't go to university to become accountants. You were trained to treat patients, not to run profit and loss statements. Yet here you are running a business where hundreds of thousands of dollars a year flow, and you're expected to manage numbers as if you were a CFO. So what do you get? Maybe you get an expensive accountant and you see them once or twice a year and they show you reports that look backward. The rest of the time you're figuring it out on your own. So you end up flying through the year completely blind. Busy days, money's moving, but no clarity on whether you're actually winning. So this reminds me of what happened to Jenson Button in Brazil back in 2001. He was qualifying for the big Grand Prix and the track was wet, the stakes were high, and he was just starting his flying lap when his entire telemetry system went dark. So no tyre, no temperatures, no brake data, no lap times. So he was driving a $10 million machine at 300 k's an hour with no dashboard, and halfway through that final lap he spun out. And here's the scary part. That's how a lot of dental practices are being run now. So the real danger isn't that you don't know your numbers, it's that you're making big business decisions in a fog. Think of your practice like that race car. If your dashboard only shows you speed but not oil pressure, tire temperature or fuel, you'll keep driving fast until something blows up. And that's how most dentists use their financials. The P&L comes in once or twice a year, maybe even monthly, but it's like checking the rearview mirror after the race is over. It's history, not guidance. So the ultra wealthy, they don't settle for that. They demand instruments that point forward. Where is maybe margin slipping right now? Which chair, which practitioner, which service line is really profitable? When do we conserve cash and when do we lean in? Because clarity doesn't come from more reports or more hours in zero. It comes from simple forward planning, forward-looking dashboards, the handful of numbers that actually move the flywheel. So a flywheel is just a heavy wheel that stores energy as it spins. And at first it's really hard to push, but once it gets momentum, every push compounds. So your financial systems, they work in a similar way. At first, setting up reporting, cleaning up your chart of accounts, building rhythms with your bookkeeper, it's a heavy lift. Feels hard. But once it's spinning, every decision becomes easier. You can pull one lever, staff, supplies, chair time, and you immediately see what it does to profit. Instead of friction, you get compounding. That's the flywheel effect. So let me give you some examples. So chart of accounts is a list of your accounts. Most practices inherit a bloated generic chart. Half the expenses are jumbled together. You can't tell if your lab costs are creeping or if your discretionary spending is eating margin. The model to remember here is clarity creates control. Then we talk about reconciliation. Too many practices are looking at their financials 6 weeks after month end, and that's like watching the replay instead of the race. The model here is feedback loops drive performance. The shorter the loop, the better the steering. Over-reliance on advisors. I hear dentists say, that's my accountant's job. But your accountant looks at your numbers when they have to. You need someone looking at them when you need to. And that's why wealthy families build CFO-style systems around themselves, even if they're not Fortune 500 companies. So the biggest financial mistakes I see dentists make don't just come from making bad decisions. They also come from making incomplete decisions. So you tweak one thing and it looks good in isolation, but you don't see the ripple effect. So for example, you raise your prices. First order, revenue climbs, yay. Second order, cancellations rise, treatment plan acceptance dips, and suddenly the overall effect may be neutral or negative. Maybe you cut staff to save costs. So first order, payroll drops. Second order, rebooking slips, admin mistakes rise, and stress levels explode. Second order thinking is about anticipating those ripple effects before you make the move. But you can only see them if you've got the right dashboard. That's why in Formula One, telemetry is live. Engineers don't just see speed, they see heat buildup, tire wear, drag coefficients. They know what today's tweak will cost them 10 laps later. And dentistry works the same way. The bookkeeper is your race engineer feeding live data. The accountant is your strategist spotting patterns, but only you can steer. And winners don't yank 10 levers at once. They pull levers one at a time, wages, cost of goods sold, rebooking rates, and they watch how the whole system responds. Because you don't win races by guessing, you win by seeing second order effects in real time and adjusting before they cost you the race. So here's a simple test. If a buyer walked in today, could your financials tell the story of profit, performance, and potential? And if the answer is no, that is a red flag. Because even if you never sell, the things that make a practice more attractive to buyers are clarity, clean numbers, repeatable systems. And they're the same things that make it easier and less stressful for you to own. That's another model. Build like you might sell, even if you never do. So why does this matter beyond just compliance and tax returns? Having a good dashboard is about increasing profitability now, reducing stress because you're not guessing, understanding how your practice fits into your broader wealth plan, creating optionality if you want to sell. Remember, 2 dentists in the same suburb, similar patient base. One is minting it, the other is struggling. 9 times out of 10, the difference isn't clinical skill, it's the quality of their financial flywheel. If you're racing through your year at 300 kilometers an hour, the real danger isn't speed, it's flying blind. Without timely information, you are guessing. And when you make decisions on stale data or no data at all, that's why many dentists work flat out but don't actually move forward. The financial flywheel is an idea that changes that. So it's not about more reports or spending hours collecting data. It's about the right information at the right time, because when you can see clearly, your decision making improves. Better decisions don't just add up, they multiply. Catching margin creep early, fixing rebooking rates, boosting profit, those are not small wins. Compounded over years, they can mean millions of dollars of difference to your net worth and your freedom. That is the essence of the flywheel. Clarity fuels better choices, and better choices compound into freedom.